Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Business Narrative. Today we are joined by one of the top US consultant entrepreneur. Previously, he was serving as a professor at Ohio State University. And he is none other than Shahrukh Irani. Shahrukh, thank you so much for your precious time.
Thank you for inviting me on the podcast.
The pleasure is all mine. You were a professor at Ohio State almost 16 years, right? So I want to know, what was the exact moment when you realized that academic life was not enough and you decided to leave it?
In from 2004 to 2012, I received a research grant from a federally funded organization called Forging Defense Manufacturing Consortium. And unlike grants from the National Science Foundation, the director, John Turpak, basically told me, look, if your research does not get implemented by forging companies, custom forge shops, no more funding next year. So for an academic, being told implement your research is like facing a big fire, and saying, what do I do with a bucket of water? And I had developed this software fast. I had this methodology, job shop lean, for high mix, low volume. But what he said was, look, if you don't have experience implementing job shop lean in manufacturing companies, showing that your software works, industry has no time for you. You are just another academic talking head. So that was his first strong advice. Then in my annual review in 2012 with the department chair, she says, what is all this? This is consulting. Who's paying you to commercialize your research? You publish papers and you be an academic, expert. This is all consulting. So I was like, how many faculty actually implement their research? And that doesn't matter to me. You're an academic. Do scholarly research. I was like, no, I want to do something different. And then this company, Herbiger Corporation of America, contacted me and said, you talk a lot about job shop lean. We think we are a job shop. What if we gave you this position, Director of Industrial Engineering Research, but you came to Houston, Texas, and you actually implemented everything that you have talked about in our facility. They were part extrusion job shop and part machining job shop. So, I looked at myself in the mirror and said, look, 22 years in academia, nothing that I've done for research has been implemented. I can't give up on this opportunity. And so I said, I don't know what the future is, but I want to get the confidence to implement what I did. And so I had no industry experience. In 22 years, I went from IIT, bachelor's, master's, PhD, assistant professor, associate professor, no industry experience. Okay, I just taught from textbooks. And, so this was the only opportunity I got. And I said, for better or for worse, go. So that's what happened.
In 2014, you became a business owner. So, what was the scariest part of losing university paychecks? And on the other side, what sort of survival tips you have for early stage startup founders? Because this is the most important thing for early stage founders who are running their businesses.
I mean, if if you're an academic, for example, if you have an innovative idea and you want to make a business out of it, again, these are my mistakes. Okay, these are my mistakes. I hope that future entrepreneurs don't make that mistake. Okay, because one is that you need to have sponsors before you start your consulting company, or you get into startup mode or something. I thought that people would be like, oh, wonderful, this is great, let's fund you. But no, what they were saying was, where's your track record? Where is your track record of putting your research to work, of putting your software to work? So the first thing I would tell you is that, oh, today, everything is AI, correct? You use some chat GPT and you create some little app. it is very important that at least in a manufacturing context, I had to show results. And in industry, when you go to your executive boss and say, "Sir, I have this great idea, we should implement it," most of them have come from a management cadre, okay, or they are banyas, through contacts they became, where they are. They are, one, not very knowledgeable on the technical side, and two, very risk averse. So unless you can show that whatever idea you have, whatever technology you have does work, and there are people to endorse you, these are three references. Watch out, watch out, because I jumped in without success stories. And luckily, those 2 years where I worked, I could point to success stories, but people said, "More, we want more companies to adopt what you've done." And it takes time. Change threatens people, whether they're employees, middle managers, or executives. Wherever there's money, wherever there's employment concern, somebody like me coming in saying, "I'm an industrial engineer with my software and I'll help you," their first thing is, "What is in it for me?" You know? And if you don't put them at ease, your startup, etc., is doomed from the outset.
Shahrukh, previously you were serving professor at Ohio University, right? So do let me know why there is massive gap between academic research and practical business applications. How your research is helping students to solve real life problems.
My motivation began in 1999. So I began my faculty academic career in 1990 after my PhD. 1999, there was this particular master student I had known at Penn State that I was like, "Who is this guy?" Then I heard he had got funding from Ford and he was at MIT. And I'm like, "Wow, look at him. He's gone so high in his career." And the thing which it was, the buzzword was lean. Uh, some team at MIT basically took all the Toyota production system work at NUMMI, the GM plant in Fremont, California, and this buzzword is lean. So I'm like, wow, if this guy could get funding, every big university was talking about lean, this, lean, that. Okay. I mean, I thought meat was lean. I thought food was lean. They were like, "Oh, lean, lean." So I said, let's start reading. What is this lean thing? And it started, I was teaching a lot of classes at the undergraduate level also, which were fundamentals of industrial engineering, work study, facilities planning, production planning, control. I started seeing a connection between what these people call lean and what I understood to be textbook industrial engineering. Correct? So what hit me was, hey, lean is industrial engineering interpreted by non-industrial engineers. And because there are millions of them compared to the number of degreed industrial engineers, everybody's like, lean, Six Sigma is industrial engineering. So simple industrial engineering was packaged as lean or Six Sigma, but the big thing was it was implementable and it was backed, but people could say, "See, Toyota is doing it, so lean has to work for you." But I said, okay, there's a lot like a Venn diagram. There's a lot of overlap between this blah blah called lean, which is basic industrial engineering, and the operations research and optimization that I thought was industrial engineering. And then it hit me that anything you do, if you implement it, that industrial engineering qualifies as lean. So, the motivation for my research was, look, everybody is doing lean for low mix, high volume assembly. All they say, "See, Toyota's doing it." So because I read one book, I'm also the expert. What I was doing work with high mix, low volume. So my clients are $20 million, $30 million, $40 million. I mean, they don't even make what one Toyota assembly plant makes, but there are millions of them in the world, millions, right? Machine shops, Ford shops. So what I said was, let me take lean and see how to adapt the methods, the concepts, the principles, the methods, the tools, the implementation, so that what would work in low mix, high volume, and like a Toyota, I can now appropriately implement the principles, different methods, different tools, for high mix, low volume. So that was the motivation that any research I do will support that version of lean. And I call that, this is my book, Job Shop Lean basically. Okay. That this book basically is me saying, I did it. It's not complete. It's a very hard area, but you find a niche. You have to look around and say, what does the world doesn't know? What does the world need? If you don't have that clear, don't do into a startup. So uh, in industrial engineering, the world doesn't have apps. We don't have tools that are affordable that any industrial engineer anywhere in the world for $100 or something could do line balancing or capacity planning. It's always buying some $30,000 simulation package or a $30,000 scheduling package or like Minitab, 30,000. Who has the money among small companies? So, that's where I'm going, that we don't have this. Most industrial engineers have two problems. They don't have the tools to solve the hard problems, right? And then they need time to implement the solution to those problems. So if you're doing research as an industrial engineer, a software developer, a machine learning, AI, OR, expert, that's the niche I'm saying, that you go in and say, my app will take care of the solution, sir, so that you, the industrial engineer, can now spend your job implementing the solutions. Rather than saying, I don't even have the solution, so let me just do some basic 5S and simple stuff that Lean teaches, and then say, oh, where are the results? Because management will say, okay, you did all this Lean stuff, where are the results? High mix, low volume is not easy. It's not easy, but it's solvable. And without apps, there's, that's the market. That's the challenge, but that's also the market.
So do let me know, why do companies prefer high volume, low mix model instead? They do not offer like product variations. And can you name some of big companies, like if they are getting a benefit from this scheme? Can you name some big companies so the viewers can have some idea?
I mean, I've got it in my notes. There's a whole book on why high mix, low volume is different from low mix, high volume. Okay, chapter 2, for example, I have a table where I compare and I say, okay, these are the 5 steps to implement lean as would be done, say, at Toyota, right? In the other column, I've said this is how you have to implement that same step, but because of the challenges of high mix, low volume, this is how you do it. So, the key thing is to understand that high mix, low volume is not easy. So, in industry where people are risk averse, they don't wish to spend time to learn, they want solutions quick and dirty. So, what's the typical strategy? It is simple. I understand it, so let's implement it. But, sir, it won't work for high mix, low volume. It worked for Toyota, na? There's a success story, right? But that is low mix, high volume. It worked for Toyota, right? So that's the first thing. I understand it. So even if it doesn't work, I understand it. Second thing is there are so many people on LinkedIn. Blah, 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 blah. All they might do is drive a Toyota, but suddenly they are the expert on Toyota production system. So when there are these thousands of voices saying Toyota production system for improvement, now all the high mix, low volume manufacturers think, yeah, yeah, yeah. If my peer and all these guys are saying it works, it has to work for me. So it's again that popular vote thing that everybody's saying it works. So by default, it has to work. But again, please, low mix, high volume is assembly. High mix, low volume is job shop. These are two radically different production environments. The OEMs, Boeing and Ford and Toyota, are low mix, high volume. The $20 million aerospace shop or medical shop or machine shop, they are high mix, low volume. What's 20 to 40 million compared to 400 million or something, right? People don't wish to sit down and learn. It's just that I don't have the time. I need to show results. Everybody else is doing it. So let's do it. So they bring in some consultant, they do it, the results aren't there, and then they hold their head and they, beat their chests. But Look, you got to learn, you got to educate yourself. So, what is identical between low mix, high volume, and high mix, low volume? Those are 180 degrees apart. So, a lot of it has to be people don't wish to learn, or they're under time pressures, budget pressures. If the peers are doing it, we should do it. I think that herd mentality is there.
You are helping your clients to deliver their products in a very short period of time. And on the other side, we are seeing this, that your clients, they are getting recognition worldwide. So like, how you created this strategy, and how a newcomer can apply this strategy.
There's a simple law from queuing theory. It's called Little's law, and a lot of people say that Little's law is a big law. It's a very simple queuing problem. What it basically says is that if the average time that you take to complete any order is long, there will be a lot of inventory work in process in your shop. Okay. If you shrink that average time, the average flow time to complete an order, the work in process will be less. It will become sellable finished goods. So when you are told reduce lead time, you're basically being told, regardless of the variety of work you do, try to shrink the average time it takes and the variation to complete that time for the high mix of work. It's very straightforward. If you reduce lead time, if you reduce the flow time through your shop, you are going to have less work in process and be able to fulfill more orders, because you will tell a client, sir, I can get you this order in X days. My nearest competitor is doing it in 2X days. There's no competition. I mean, it's like, you get the contract basically. So, if you read the book by, by Eliyahu Goldratt, the goal, he says there are three goals of a business. Maximize throughput, meaning sell orders, make more money through selling orders. Minimize operating expenses, okay, which is cutting waste, overtime, scrap, etc. And reduce inventory, okay. Don't hold high levels of finished goods. Simple metrics, simple metrics. But the very first metric, right? Maximize throughput. You can't do it without reducing lead time, the flow through your shop. So, anybody, if you want like a management level book to read, personally, I would say read The Goal by Eliyahu Goldratt. Especially if you're high mix, low volume, that high level book is still very powerful. Now, the video sells for $1,000. So somebody in Pakistan or India might say, oh, who's going to spend so much money? I will assure you, if every employee and executive fully understands the lessons taught in that video of about 1 hour, I can send you my 40 questions that will test your knowledge of that video and the book. It'll help you a lot. It's far superior to lean thinking, but he said the same thing. Reduce the time it takes to make any order, business will go up.
Many business students, they think that they have learned some business theories, and now they will going to apply those theories in their businesses. Like, what is the reality check? Do let me know.
You look at, see, forget manufacturing. I mean, look at the tech companies, right? Google, you know, Facebook, you know, these guys compete on brains, they compete on talent, they compete on innovation. In manufacturing, we compete on just day to day work. Okay. So, at Google, they are also supporting what they call moonshot projects, because they are saying, look, we make so much money that we may as well invest for 10, 20 years from now, right? But that's Google. Uh, for a small entrepreneur like me, I have to be very sure that whatever theory I'm working on, right, even if it's implemented using heuristic solutions, it solves an immediate problem. Like, and I'll keep saying that theory is not wrong, science is not bad, but don't get carried over and start publishing journal papers and giving them to industry people and saying, see, that paper is proof that my idea merits investment and financial support for 5 years. Forget it. Forget it. You know, you have to put that science aside and maybe use Chat GPT and give a summary of that journal publication to the investor to say, sir, because the investor will say, how many companies did you impact? You know, if I'm going to create a SaaS portal and I'm going to host 10 of your apps, I want to make have X customers use each of these apps so many times and pay so many dollars per app usage. That's how they measure performance of your science or your theory. So don't pitch your publications to people in industry and say that's why you should fund me, that's why my apps or technology is worth it. They'll say, where are the implementations? So don't make that mistake. You know, I had the same thing. Initially, I was like, oh, I'm going to sell my fast software. It does wonderful things for high mix, low volume. People were like, I'm not going to buy your software and learn to use it. You give me the results. I don't care about your software. So my consulting deployment model changed drastically. I became like, okay, I'll use the software as part of my client engagement. I'm not going to sell it as a separate, tool. So like I keep saying that, if you're getting into app development, I think that you can't just say, here's my software, buy it and take the money and, go to the bank. You have to follow up and say, I also have implementation partners who I have taught to implement the solutions that my apps create. So, science and theory is good, but if you don't have it backed up with implementation capabilities, good luck. Good luck.
You always mention this that smart chart can be a game changer in your business. What is a smart chart and how it works?
SmartChart actually was inspired or is inspired by some a chart that we IEs have been using since 1921. Uh, the Gilbratts first came up with the concept of process charting, and they basically said that both macro work and micro work can be broken down into elements, activity elements, operation, transport, inventory, delay. These are macro elements. And third bricks for micro work is reach, grasp, pull, position, right? So they basically propounded the concept that all physical work can be broken down to elements, like uh, in atoms and electrons and neutrons, right? Those are basic building blocks, as we say, right? So then along came Toyota and they talked about standard work like it was rocket science. So I started doing a lot of this research about what do industrial engineers do in the field of work study that is similar to what Toyota is saying is standardized work. As I brought the two things together, what I realized was that the flow process chart is like the approach or the technique that I can use to break down any work being done into elements. And each element has value at three levels. It's value adding. If I don't do that element, it won't produce the product or service. It's non value adding. Why do it? I shouldn't be doing it. It's necessary but not value adding, like inspection. Yes, I may not want to inspect it, but if I let a defective part go to the customer, all hell will break loose. So when I looked at all these flow process charts over the years, the first thing I found was that, my God, this chart is so old. You know, there is so much more information to be captured about work, and we are using this old chart, which is so mediocre in its capture, right? Then I also learned was that I watch a video and then I convert from the video, I manually use a time study software to break it down into these steps. Then along came vision AI systems like Retrocausal and Kenda and said, just give us the video, give us 10 cycles of the same work, and our AI system will automatically generate the flow process check. Okay, that's wonderful, but the price is strong. Like I've heard that they go for about $500,000 per year with the vision AI. So I compared the IE approach and the vision AI approach, and I said, you know what? What's missing is that the worker is not involved. We talk about respect for humans, we talk about respect for workers, they do the work, respect them, they don't have any input. The time study approach gives IE the authority, and the vision AI just says, I don't need the worker. So if you see in the middle, I said, look, why not have a system which is cheap and basically is more capable, more rich than the flow process chart, and it allows the worker to modify the sequence of steps in which they do the work. So that's what SmartChart is saying, that any work that anybody does, start with a video, then use voice to basically increase the description of the flow process chart. And then once you have the flow process chart, it'll generate subcharts. That's a little bit proprietary. But the point is that the 100 years old chart has not evolved. It has no data, no analytics, no intelligence, no automation. With Smart Chart, our hope is that the IE and the worker will work together. And all these kaizans that people do, employees sit for as a team for 5 days to do a project. Imagine if that could be speeded up, where maybe instead of 10 employees and 5 days, you might say 10 employees slowly reduced to two, and instead of 5 days, that event gets done in 2 days. So Smart Chart is basically saying any and all work can be computerized, the improvement thought process. Don't eliminate the human, but human computer interaction, that's what Smart Chart's going to do.
Shahrukh, we had a lot of things to discuss, but before leaving, any message you want to give to aspiring entrepreneurs, those people who are already in the market, they are juggling around, but they're not getting their desired results?
If you're looking at uh, lessons I've learned and mistakes I have made, that uh, I would hope that young entrepreneurs don't make that mistake. I mean, uh, there's quite a few. I won't bore. People can, but the first thing is that you can go to college, get a degree, higher education, whatever. But say industrial engineers, in fact, any engineering profession, if you don't have industry experience, you're wasting your time. So a lot of our universities are basically a hoax. Forgive me. Okay, I think the university system is a hoax because there are too many professors publishing too many useless papers with little, if any, interaction with industry. So, you know, I, I was part of that system, of that hoax, which I think is higher education. I'm not saying that no good work gets done, but for the amount of funding being invested, that's the first thing, that if you go for a PhD, I would strongly urge you, don't just look at academia as your future. Make it more practical, make it more industry driven, and pursue a career in industry also. So that would be one recommendation. Don't make my mistake where I had no experience in industry for 22 years. That was one advice. Uh, Another one is accept criticism, accept it, be humble, stuff your ego in your socks. You know, it's okay. Because you know what? Somebody knows something that you don't know and is telling you, please don't do this. It's going to cost you, it's going to harm you. So listen, you know, listen, take your ego and stuff it in your socks. I'll give you my experience that I was, what, 2, 3 years into my faculty career, and I published a paper that was reviewed by the guy, Professor John Burbidge, in my field. He had developed a method called production flow analysis, and my software Fast basically implements it. He rejected my paper. And what he said was, this guy doesn't know any industry stuff. This academic stuff on cluster analysis is bogus. I reject the paper. But the journal came back and said, Dr. Irani, the other reviewers accept the paper, but we will publish Professor Burbidge's review comments. So I read his comments. It was not personal, but his message was, your research is bogus because I have not seen it work to date in my, and he was pretty well informed in industry. So it angered me, it irritated me. But what I said was, Dr. Burbidge, I admire you too much to ignore. I will prove you wrong. I'll prove you wrong. And that's how the fast software came to light, because he said your ideas won't work, and I said no, my ideas will work. So that's the other advice, that it's okay to be criticized, and if it's harsh, go cry, go drink, bury your sorrows, but accept the criticism. That's another, how to say, uh, self lesson. Okay. um, be diplomatic. Sorry, I try to be, but I fail at it. But if you're diplomatic, I think your career will have better chances of succeeding. Okay. Uh, this one, have courage. See, if you have an idea and you're convinced about it, okay, have the guts to stand by it, and make sure that you're taking feedback, you're reading industry trends, talking to peers. It is okay to change the course that you have taken to implement your idea, to commercialize your idea, but have courage and confidence. Okay. Specifically, don't be afraid to talk about knowledge that you have found that is above and beyond the common knowledge that millions of others may have. Stand your ground. There'll be enough people trying to shoot you down. Doesn't matter. If you have shown the results, you know what is going on, you can implement your ideas and your software or your technology. Stand your ground. Don't be a member of the herd. The sheep, the same shepherd runs around with 50 goats, and then they all go to the slaughterhouse, and that's the end of there, right? If you're not part of the herd, you will not get slaughtered, right? And finally, the last one, it's said in the Bible, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Simply put, do no harm. In my consulting profession, in academia, I did no harm, right? I did some research, criticized some colleagues, published my paper, no impact, right? Everybody was happy, got promoted, blah, blah. In industry, the first people will be affected will be the shop employees. Okay. Do not go in and say my technology will eliminate headcount. You know, so do no harm. It's it's part of my. I know it's dangerous for me. It's harmful to me as a consultant. But anytime management says, "So how many heads can you save us with your work?" I'm like, "No, sir, I won't be able to eliminate them. But sir, I find that these other positions in the company you would have to hire for. Why not use these employees that, with some training, could fill those positions?" So that's what I find very fundamental. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You, you cannot sacrifice conscience. You cannot sacrifice ethics. You cannot sacrifice honesty. You cannot sacrifice integrity. Maybe that's why I'm poor, okay, or whatever, right? But I would not ever let being a good person be compromised just to be successful. So do no harm. If anything, um, that's perhaps the best lesson I've learned, that if your work costs somebody else's job, shame on you.
Thank you so much, Shahrukh, for your precious time. And I hope all the viewers will going to love the podcast. If you love the podcast, do subscribe the channel, press the bell icon. We will be going to meet you in another exciting episode. Till then, keep daring, keep listening, and keep achieving your goals.